Sure. We good?
We're good.
All right, so I'm gonna call this meeting of the Hood Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. Address is 1902 West Pearl Street. Notice was given that on February 19th, the Board of Directors of the Hood Central Appraisal District will meet in regular open session beginning at 5 p.m. It is 5 p.m., so we'll call to order. We are missing Mark McDonald at the moment, but everybody else is here. We don't have any visitors, so we'll scratch through that. Moving to the consent items. Is there anything that y'all want to pull from the consent items? Any questions on anything? So let's pull, you've got that one in your hand. Let's pull number 3 so we can tell y'all about it.
Yeah,
I can see 2 of y'all don't know.
that'd be a good idea.
So do I approve the other consent items and do this one?
Yeah, you can go ahead
Okay.
and have a motion for consent item 1 and 2, and we'll 3 is been pulled.
All right, so then I would entertain a motion to somebody to
How about if I move to approve consent items 1 and 2 as presented?
I caught myself in the middle of that I'm not supposed to do that. All right, so I've got a motion, a second. James, to approve items 1 and 2. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Those are approved. All right, so let's talk about number 3 for a minute. And that is the invoice to Pritchard. You want to talk about that one?
Yes, I'll be happy to. Pritchard and Abbott is an appraisal firm that we and probably 125 other appraisal districts utilize for the appraisal of industrial and mainly mineral property. They specialize in the evaluation of gas wells, oil wells, and things of that nature. They also specialize in utility pipelines, electric lines, telephone lines, and those type of services as well. One of the things that the property tax code requires, actually the Uniform Standard Professional Appraisal Practice requires that you have to be competent to appraise certain things. And competency doesn't mean that you're smart or you're dumb. Competency means that you have experience. Sort of like in your line of work. You may be in the cardiac system and maybe a nurse and that particular thing, but you might not be able to be pulled over and say, hey, we want you in labor delivery tonight. You're like, I hadn't done that. It doesn't mean you're not dumb. It just means you're maybe not competent to handle that type of situation. So what we do at Hood, and we've done it for years, is we have a contract with Pritchard and Abbott to do all of our mineral appraisals, utility appraisals, and things of that nature. And we have a, is it a 5-year or 3-year contract? Scott and I were.
With the 3-year.
So we, in our last year with Richard here, we actually renegotiated that contract and permitted to extend it. We signed a new contract for 3 years. And what they do is they send us an invoice on a quarterly basis. So this $26,000 is their first quarter billing of that contract. And so generally what I do versus consent items and general items, normally reoccurring payments that we make, things that, you approve a contract and then I might put that on the consent agenda because it's like, we know about it. It's something we've been doing. But then generally those items that are more unusual, special, I'll generally put them on the general consent agenda item so that every one of those items can be discussed and talked about. It's like we approve every minute, we approve all the financials. So those are just routine things that we do. So any questions about Pritchard and Abbott?
And if there is an appeal or if a customer wants to appeal the value that they've given, Pritchard Abbott comes down and takes care of the ARB on that. It doesn't rely on our guys or the ARB.
We don't have to do that. In fact, we just signed a deal with them yesterday that July the 22nd, June 22nd is going to be their appeal day.
Okay.
And so anyone that wants to appeal their mineral value or industrial value, whatever, is most likely going to be set up on that day. And then Pritchard and Abbott will come down there and they'll have like the whole day to go through and either negotiate values or have an ARB hearing or something like that. So that's already been set.
So that's part of why we pay them, is they take care of that piece of the process as well.
They're just experts in this area.
Yeah.
They do also all of our power. They do, just so you'll know, they do the Bitcoin facilities. They do all of the power plants, all 3 power plants. One thing I was talking to Meg the other day about this whole data center issue that's going on right now. If we wind up getting to 1, 2, or 6 data centers, most likely we'll call on Pritchard and Abbott to appraise those. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't come back and say we might need to renegotiate the contract, because that's not in
Changing
their
the scope.
contract now. Yeah, that would change the scope quite a bit of what they do. So, we'll just have to wait and see. Wait and see what happens before we cross that bridge.
I guess it's y'all's pleasure.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve consent action item number 3 to approve the invoice for Pritchard and Abbott in the amount of $26,000.
Got a motion with a second to approve the invoice to Pritchard and Abbott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Unanimous on that one, Meg. All right, so we do not need to move into executive session.
No, sir, and if I can just for a
Go
second
ahead.
say, I'm going to start at the advice of our attorney, I'm going to start probably putting the recess into executive session to get general counsel, legal counsel, probably put it on all of our agendas, just so in the event we have a situation where we need to do that, it'll be on the agenda so we can. So I just put it on this one as the beginning of it's going to be, you're going to see it on every one of them, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to go into executive session to talk. Well, our attorney's not even here, and I'm a big believer that we cannot go into executive session to talk about legal issues without our attorney present, either on the telephone or in person. So we don't have to do it. And I also want to thank you for coming in tonight. This is a very, very slim agenda. We could have easily postponed this payment to next month, but we needed to get these minutes approved and signed tonight so that me, Scott, and Meg can go down to the bank and get the signature cards at the bank changed. And we didn't really want to wait another month to do that, so decided to go ahead and have the February meeting and go ahead and get that done so we can go down next week first.
All right, so then the next item is Chief Appraiser's report.
All righty, thank you. Got really just 2 different divisions within the district, the appraisal division and collections division. I just wanted you all to know that appraisers are working hard on getting the finalized 2026 values done. All of our values that we do are set by state law to be as of January 1st. So basically, we look at your house, we look at your business, we look at whatever and say, what was the situation as of January 1st? And we try to estimate what the value was as of January 1st. And we're working towards getting our appraisal notices sent out on April 15th of this year.
That was my question.
Yeah, we're going to actually try to wrap up all of the appraisal entry by April 1st so that our software company can start processing our appraisal notices around April the 6th and go on the mail on April 15th, or as close to April 15th as we can. I do expect values to go up in some places. One of the things that we're going to do before we print those notices is we're going to run what's called ratio study analysis, where we're going to compare sales prices to appraisals. And for example, if we have a piece of property that sold on 377 for $900,000, we want to look at it and say, well, what do we have it appraised for? The goal is to have it appraised for $900,000. So, but if we have it appraised at $600,000, we can do the math and figure out that that's about a 72% ratio or something. And the law says we're supposed to be at 100%. So what we'll do is what we're doing right now is we're analyzing our cost tables, our improvement cost tables, our building cost tables. We've analyzed all the sales for land, and we've made adjustments to our land schedules. And then we will sit down and go neighborhood by neighborhood and do ratio study analysis to say, what are our ratios in this neighborhood? If they're too low, we'll make a across the board, everybody gets an adjustment and raise them up by 1, 2, 3, 5%, whatever we need to. If we go into a neighborhood and the ratio says we're too high, we'll make an across the board adjustment and we'll go by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever percentage to try to even everything out. We don't go in and we just raise the properties that are sold. That's a term in the state of Texas called sales chasing. It's illegal. It's not allowed. So if this is a neighborhood right here and Richard's property has sold, I can't just go raise his house, but I have to do analysis and say, you know, we're 10% too low on Richard's house. So I would come back and I'd raise all of our homes up by 10%. Now, another thing is that I wouldn't do it just based on one sale.
Mm.
That's not enough data to really say, okay, he paid too much, and so everybody else has got to raise it because he paid too much. That type of thing. So we look at as much data as we possibly can before we make these decisions to raise or lower values, or leave them alone, leave them the same. I noticed y'all all wrote down April 15th. Let me add this to it as well. One thing that the law says that we can do, we need to double check to make sure we have the resolution in place that allows us to always send it out. We do, okay? There's a law that says that the board of directors passes a resolution. We can send appraisal notices only on the properties whose value increases by more than $1,000. So if I lower your value, I would not be required to send you an appraisal notice. If I leave the value the same as last year, I wouldn't be required to send an appraisal notice. But if I increase your value by more than $1,000, then I would be required to send you a notice. Those are the notices that we'll be sending on April the 15th.
Interesting, didn't know that. Huh?
Yeah, we do that. Some appraisal districts will just send it to everybody, up, down, or stay the same. A lot of appraisal districts, most appraisal districts, for the purposes of saving money,
Mhm.
will only send them on the ones that have increased by $1,000. So that's kind of the practice that we've done too. So, I mean, it's good news if your value went down, kind of maybe,
Yeah.
or it stayed the same, because it shouldn't. Most people think that when we raise values, well, we're raising taxes. That's not true,
Right.
because the taxing entities could lower tax rates. And when you start talking data centers, it would be really, really interesting to see what happens to values if these data centers bring in as much value as they're talking about bringing in. The tax rates could go down considerably. But
Well,
again, that's
The
just,
values, well, how does it affect the areas immediately around
oh yeah.
that data center as well? Because it could adjust those values.
And I'll say too, just so you guys, for the benefit of you guys, we've had complaints, issues, concerns brought up about Bitcoin. And generally they're like, oh my gosh, our values are nothing. Well, okay, I understand that. But really, what does the data show? Have there been any sales in there? Have people moved into that area and bought? And then the question would be, what they pay for it? Because that would be a direct reflection about what the buyer feels about the Bitcoin center, the noise, and things of that nature. So the real issue is what does the data reflect? For years and years and years, we've dealt with properties that people say, my property's in the floodplain. So, okay, I can understand how that might have an impact on you, maybe not being able to utilize that property like maybe you utilize other parts of the property. You can't build on it, right? You still have the right to use it, enjoy it, walk on it, ride horses on it, things of so there's still value associated with it, but maybe not as much. But then the question was as well, does that mean it's a 1% reduction, a 5% reduction, a 20% reduction, 100% reduction?
I don't know. If you're on the river in Pecan,
Yeah.
one side of the street's a lot more expensive than the other side of the street.
So property owners tend to come in and say, well, hey, this is the problem I have and my value's almost worthless. And
Right.
it's like,
Yes.
well, is it really? Let's wait until we get some more data to prove up whether or not that element, that thing, the floodplain, the noise, the whatever, is it really having an impact on your value? Now we have sales that are coming in and well, sure enough, people are paying, they're having to reduce their sale price by 10, 15, 20% in order to get money. And really, we just don't have a lot of data at this particular time to address it.
Well, I have a question on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, are any other counties dealing with this yet?
Bitcoin?
Well,
Or
data centers, the valuation, whole question about valuation, have they come out with any kind of standards of how to deal with this stuff?
back to the concerns of like floodplain, yeah, there have been some standards, maybe 20, 25% reduction of the land that's in the floodplain. Because again, you get to enjoy it. I mean, I had a case not long ago where a guy had 20 acres and he had his house over here on the part that wasn't in the floodplain. But all this property over here along the creek was very enjoyable to them. They got to use it. They could run cattle on it. You can cut hay on it. You got a lot of uses for it. You're just not going to go build anything down there. So from a standpoint that of, well, I can't develop it. Okay, I get that, but you know, you're not a developer. You're a landowner.
Doesn't mean you can't use it.
Yeah, and then a developer, I mean, look at the property out there right on 377 in the lake that they're putting the hotel on. All of that was in the floodplain.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's not. Now they're remedying that issue. And so even that property, I would come back and say, yeah, we'll put a slight reduction on it because it's in the floodplain. But we all knew that at some point in time, what's happening today was what was going to happen. Some developer's going to come in, but the floodplain doesn't matter. We're going to fix that problem. We're going to raise it all up. And then we're going to put, in this case, hotels, shopping, strip centers, houses,
100,000 cubic yards of dirt to fix the problem.
exactly. It's going to cost a lot of money to fix the problem.
Right.
But now the problem's been fixed. And so now but from a data center standpoint and a Bitcoin center standpoint, no, there's not really any standards because these things are new. Right. So then you have to come back. And my argument would be, and it's not an argument, but my side of the story would be, I don't disagree that it's possible that it'll affect value. The question is, how much? So do I put an arbitrary 10% reduction, 20% reduction? When we had some people coming in about the Bitcoin thing, it was, this is very noisy, it's very noisy, it's very noisy. And then we get a newspaper article in where that independent study came out, and it's like, there wasn't even an 85 decimal reading out there.
Right.
And so it was like, how much of a problem is it now that the numbers didn't come in at the level that people thought that they would? But that, I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm sorry, you're not having problems because it's noisy. I drove out there for the very first time one time, and I was like, wow, what's that noise? And it was noisy.
You can hear it.
Yeah, and now we went out the second time around, and it was less noisy because they had converted some of those containers to the mineral oil cooled. Yep. And they didn't have the big exhaust fans, but they still had some that had the exhaust fans. So it's one of those things that
And then
maybe over some time it will be remedied, but I don't know.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's a wait and see.
And there's a big one, Taylor County.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a
Started.
there's a big one out north of that one. Should be
Data center or Bitcoin?
Data center.
Yes,
And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of ignorant on them.
I don't know the difference.
Do they
between
make
the
a
two.
lot of noise? See, we had,
They're in theory they're roughly the same because it's all computer generated stuff.
Well,
Generally, data centers are quieter than the Bitcoin
Are they? Okay.
because they don't cool them the same way. All the computer stuff is inside buildings, and your chillers direct the fan noise up, as opposed to out at the Bitcoin.
Yeah, with the data center conversation, the conversation has shifted as much on the noise side of it as to what it's going to do around the surrounding area.
Yeah.
Just because Hood County, one of the biggest things everybody talks about with Hood County is, oh, look at the wonderful landscape. 8,000 acres later, people start to raise that question. And then water usage, environmentals, that's really where the argument on the data center.
So the problem is data centers can be built very friendly or very unfriendly. And there's not enough information on any of these projects to know if they're going to be friendly or not.
when I was at TAD, we had some tier 4 data centers built up there. But when they were coming in, noise was never an issue that was ever brought up. Actually, there wasn't any protest even about them because they were being built up around the Alliance corridor.
Yeah.
So they were being built in with other warehouse
In the commercial zone
like that.
anyways, yeah.
well, a lot of that is based on the size.
Yeah.
These are the massive.
Yeah, and those up there, I will say, their footprint was I won't say small, but it was much smaller, I think, than what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the Coca-Cola companies, data centers in Atlanta, has residential on 3 sides, $1 million plus residential.
Oh, wow.
In 20 years, never a noise complaint.
Huh.
Now, to be fair, this is a 60,000 square foot data center, not a 1,000,000 square foot data center.
That's kind of like the one in Tarrant County. I think it was more like a 60,000 square.
But they had diesel generators and they had dry chillers. They used no water except for the restrooms.
Yep.
They even use it in the cooling loop. They use glycol, food grade glycol. So when you have the inevitable spill, it's not a problem. You get a mop and clean it up. That's the friendly way to build a data center.
Right.
Yes, you can build them with wet chillers and use a bunch of water too.
Well, when and if this happens, we will engage Pritchard and Abbott, and Pritchard and Abbott probably will have some experience in dealing with some of those data centers that might be out in West Texas and things like that. They have a lot of business in West Texas. It's primarily their deal was oil and gas.
Okay.
And that's where they make most of their money, so to speak, is raising oil and gas.
But I think it's good to start thinking about this, because it looks like some of these are gonna go in.
Yeah.
And the other issue with the ones that are gonna go in is you're not just talking a building with computers.
Mhm.
You're talking gas turbines, talking battery storage.
Yeah.
Talking all these other things.
Yeah.
And the turbines make noise, obviously. So, it's gonna be, I think, something to think about, because I can see the public being very interested.
Well, and it's like the Bitcoin, and the people the closest to it were the most vocal in here. And so what we would do is we'll say, okay, you're talking about a very complicated issue that I don't have an immediate answer to, because data hasn't really shown itself yet. So let's come before the appraisal review board. You make your argument, we'll make our argument, or Pritchard and Abbott will make their argument, that type of thing. And the appraisal review board can come back and set a number. And then once they set that number, then we can come back and say, okay, the ARB thinks that that's a 10% value degrade. 10% across the board. But then, in fact, yeah, and I even had my GIS department go in and say, okay, here's the epicenter. Show me a half-mile radius, a mile radius, a half and 1.5, and we can come in and say, okay, everybody in this area gets 10% or 20%, maybe 15%, 10%, 5%, nothing. Because we actually have a young lady that bought a house out there. Now, when you're going down 144, she bought her on a road going away from the data center.
Okay.
And we use her as kind of a barometer. I'm like, have you heard anything today? Just do you hear it? And she's like, ever so often, if the wind's just right, she goes, I can barely hear it. And again, she doesn't live on this side of 144 where the Bitcoin is. She lives on this side.
She's on the south side.
But it's one of those things where we do these concentric circles, and then we'll get someone from Pecan saying, oh my gosh, it's driving me nuts. And you're like, well, you're not the same distance as our employee over here that never hears it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it helps us then be able to say, how do we want to put it?
I think the idea of some kind of policy standards
Fairness.
could be very helpful, because it's gonna be a very emotional issue.
Oh yeah, I agree. We've watched some of the commissioners' court meetings.
The good news is we're probably 2 years plus away from anything being in production.
Yeah.
I'd say at least that.
So we have time.
Yeah.
You have time to get off this board.
That's a really good point.
Yes.
You'd be surprised what people think affects the value of their house.
Oh, yeah.
It's an Ames Landing homeowners meeting 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and one of our entrances, the new one doesn't have a gate yet because it's still a construction entrance.
Yeah.
He claims that this reduced the value of his property by 45%.
Oh, gosh.
A missing gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
No.
You can look at the resale prices in Ames Landing and say, no, nobody agrees.
It's not affecting the new construction that's going up.
It's not affecting new construction or resales.
Yeah.
Let me finish up and get you guys out of here. I do need to make you aware that Eric Watkins, our deputy chief appraiser, on Monday he came in and turned in his resignation. Eric's got some health problems, and he felt it was probably best that he focus on those, and so he turned in his resignation. So I'm going to be on the lookout for a replacement for him. Another issue is every other year, we either are going to have what's called a property value study review conducted by the state comptroller, or we're going to have a methods and assistance program review by the state comptroller. 2025 was a MAPS review, methods and assistance review. This year will be a property value study. I won't waste any time tonight talking about that. We'll have plenty of time to educate you on what that is. But we did get our final maps review back, and out of the 86 questions that they asked, we only got 2 that were no's. We got yeses on all 84 questions. We did really well, in my opinion. The 2 questions that we got a no on was, the first one, you probably heard it because Mayor Jarrett has brought this up. We're required by law to put a notice in the newspaper that says that our budget is supported solely by the taxing entities. Well, for years, we put into the newspaper, our budget is supported primarily by the taxing units because we make interest on monies that's in our account. We make money on a rendition penalty fees that we get. We do sell some products, like if someone wants to come in and buy maps or buy copies from us, or sometimes we get money for public information requests for CDs. We don't make a lot of money on stuff that we sell, but we don't make all of our money solely from the taxing entity. Well, that came up, and the maps reviewer came back and said, let me see your publication. And we went back, Meg and I actually went back and looked in the law, and we're like, well, you know what? It surely does say that we have to say solely instead of primarily. So Meg went out and republished it. And we changed our publication, and we published 2 in the newspaper that year. One that said primarily, one that said solely. But because the one that said primarily was the official time frame that we were supposed to do it in, we got a no on that question. Now, we have since shown to the comptrollers that we have fixed it, and we will do it solely going forward. The other one that we got a no on was, go ahead.
My question on that, and you and I talked about this briefly. So how does the comptroller work through their head that all of our income does not come from the taxing entity?
They can do that, but the problem is when the legislature wrote the law and it says you have to put a budget, you have to put a notice of publication in the paper, and this is what the publication has to say. And they use the word solely.
Okay, so but I guess it's they're conflicting pieces because the comptroller wants you to be correct on your. They're okay that says solely, but that's not where all our income comes from.
Right. I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. I mean,
Welcome to lawyers.
I think we were both correct. That
Yeah.
Primarily, all of our money comes
99.5%. Yeah.
But some of it we generate locally. But the law says that we were supposed to use the word solely. And there was no.
And if we weren't collecting taxes, it would be different.
No, it wouldn't, because actually this part has nothing to do with the collection.
Right, but what I'm saying, if we weren't collecting taxes, we wouldn't earn interest off rendition payments. We wouldn't
We wouldn't earn as much interest. We still like when the taxing entities send us in their quarterly money, we put it in the bank and we get some interest off that money before we use it up in payroll and expenses and things like that. We earn a little bit more interest because the tax collections are so large, and when they set in our bank 2 or 3 days or a week, we earn a little bit of that interest. So we wouldn't earn as much. The rendition penalties, that's solely an appraisal function, not a collections function.
Okay.
So it's a shame that the comptroller, gave us a no on that one, because it essentially says the same thing.
Yeah.
Other than it's wrong when we say solely, it's right when we say primarily, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna go by what the law says going forward. The other one was another publication in that we had just printed an outdated publication regarding protest. And when we found that it was outdated, we immediately went back and did another publication with the updated version. So it's kind of like you got to know, but you did fix it. Yeah. So those are the 2 things that we got on. So not a major issue. Just one. I won't say one was a typo because we purposely intended to put primarily in there. So, but it was not what the law said. So we fixed that. With regards to collections, at the end of February last year, we had collected 93.2% of the tax collections, and as of right now in February, we're at 92.5%. And we're not at the end of February yet, so we're really running neck and neck of what we've done last year. If you'll look in your pamphlet, we do have I saw this right here. We had a complaint that was filed, and we gave you a copy of the complaint, and then we also gave you a copy of the response. And essentially what this boils down to is this gentleman was upset that we were gonna charge a fee. Now, if you read everything, you probably figured out that we use a third-party provider to do these credit cards, debit cards, electronic checks. Is there any other? EFTs. And they charge a fee for their service. The interesting thing about this complainant here, he did complain, but then he turned around and wrote a check and mailed it to us. He was not charged the fee because he sent us his tax dollars in the traditional way of mailing us a check. But if the board wanted to say, we don't want to charge a fee, a convenience fee if you're doing the electronic check or something like that. I mean, if it's a credit card, some of the money has to go back to the credit card company. But we utilize their software and we utilize their collection services, because you'll be surprised the number of times somebody will come in here and make a credit card payment and then they'll turn right around and cancel that payment.
Interesting.
And then so the money is supposed to be coming in, and there's like a 3-day waiting period that we have to wait like 3 days before we get the money. But it's like, yeah, they'll make the payment, we'll show it paid, and we'll give them a receipt, and then all of a sudden they'll cancel the credit card. Well, then this third party, Hamer, goes about handling that almost like a hot check, but it's not really a hot check. So they're providing us a service beyond just making the transaction happen. They're also helping us go back through and collecting the actual money and things of that nature. So if the board said, well, I don't think we should charge anything, then most likely what we'd have to do is say, well, we can't use your services anymore. On that particular thing, we wouldn't be able to offer the electronic checks and everything. I don't think we'd have to explore that. But there's about 3 companies in the state of Texas that do this type of work for people like us. And the other problem is that if you come in and you write us a check for $1,000 for your property, I'm sorry. If you come in and want to pay $1,000 and put it on your credit card, we can't take the $1,000 that's owed to the city, the county, and school and say, well, now we got to give 2.5% or 3% to MasterCard because you used your credit card. So we would have to say, look, there's a fee that's going to go to MasterCard. So if you're going to use a credit card, you got to pay the amount you owe in taxes, but then you've also got to pay that fee, because we're not allowed to take any of that tax dollars and put it towards the fee.
Yeah.
So the way that all collectors do it in the appraisal district or tax office world is they generally hire this third party. We're using Hamer. There's one out there called Certified Payments. Those are probably the two big ones, right? But they all do the same thing. We're actually using Hamer because they have actually a little bit lower charge on these convenient fees. And it's 2.5%. And on the electronic check, though, it's different. It's based
It's
upon
a little bit different, yeah, like EFTs, electronic checks, and,
is it debit cards?
no, debit cards are the same as credit cards.
Okay.
I'm fine with the convenience fee because we have options that don't have a convenience
Yes,
fee.
That
Yeah.
is
If you can mail a check in, I don't think that needs to change.
Yeah.
But do we have any people that even,
By the way, for way of introduction, this is Susan Jackson. She's our collections manager. About how many people are doing?
Actually, it is increasing tremendously. I'm so shocked at how many actually pay by card or online or.
I mean, it's not like half, though, right? Would you say 25%, 20%?
I'm thinking, yeah, we're getting on up there. We are actually getting on.
But paying things online has become the norm in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But when you say a third, though, you're saying a third are using either a credit card, debit card, or electronic.
Yes.
You're not saying a third is just electronic checks, right?
No,
Okay.
no, the electronic checks and stuff is lesser. Actually, it's more debit and credit
Yeah.
cards than it is.
Yeah, I think it's probably people wanting to get those bonus points, airline miles or something like that.
I mean, there's people that pay a tremendous amount and they will use the electronic check because it is a lesser fee.
Yeah.
2.5% on $20,000-$30,000 can be quite a lot. And
Yeah.
I think the most they charge on those ESPs like $20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so businesses and stuff might do that a lot.
So I'm definitely not asking you to make any changes, and we obviously don't have an action item to do anything like that, but, you know, if that's something that y'all want to entertain, or have a bigger discussion on, let me know, and I'll put an action item on it, and we can talk about it, but, I wouldn't recommend that we change it, because we most likely would have to do away with a service, because if we decided to do away with these fees, then we would have to do away with our third-party collector, and then we would have to come back and say, it's cash or check. We can't accept credit cards. We can't pay.
Well, I think in the code it states that we have to, but we can charge up to 5%.
Yeah,
Remember us reading that?
And we're only charging 2.5%
Yeah.
tops. That's the maximum.
And it's not us charging it, it's the third party, but yeah. So it could get,
That's all I got.
All right. Any questions for Jeff?
Jeff, have you seen the agenda for Commissioners Court next week, and there's a HCAD related item on it?
Yeah, something about the district attorney.
Yeah, so you're
Something
aware.
like that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have talked to our attorney about maybe getting advice for the district on what we need to consider and look at kind of going forward. They thought it was probably a little too premature right now, since there's not any specific. I mean, one could argue that there might be a threat of litigation, but there's not any litigation that's been filed or anything like that. So I'll when and if whatever comes out of it, this whole thing, I'll keep you all informed, and we'll get legal advice from our lawyer to say what should we do, how should we handle it. I did, just for you, so you know, maybe another part of my chief clerk's report, I did go back because of the concerns about the summary that I put on the website regarding the forensic audit. I'll explain to you guys what happened, what I did. When we got the forensic audit back, we had a phone call with Weaver, and they explained to us the findings of the forensic audit. Kind of at the end of it, I kind of said, well, this is a pretty good forensic audit, wouldn't you say so? And he goes, this has been one of the easiest phone calls we've ever had to make, because there wasn't any major findings. And he says, we've had some times where we've had to have some phone calls that were not very good with, like, we found this money's lost, and he said, this is one of the easiest phone calls we've ever made. So what I did was I took the digital file, the digital forensic audit, PDF, and I copied the executive summary and put it into ChatGPT and said, can you give me a condensed summary of this summary? Because I wanted a kind of a short version that I could put on the internet to say, here's basically what it says. But here's the full version. You can go read the full executive summary. You can go read the full audit. It's right here. And then all of the supplemental data. Well, there were some concerns that I had manipulated it. I had sugar-coated it. I had falsified it. Now there's concerns that I altered a government document. I never altered, never touched the forensic audit, which is a government document. So I decided the other day to put sort of a little disclaimer up top, and I put edited, and I basically said that the district wrote it, and we didn't make any claims whatsoever that Weaver Tidwell wrote the summary on the internet. I did say they did write the executive summary and the forensic audit, but they did not write this, and we never reported anywhere that they wrote it. This was definitely something that the district did. And I told the mayor this. I said, yeah, I utilized AI to help me summarize the summary, and that's how we did it. The only thing I added to that summary was I added at the very beginning where I said kind of the city of Granbury, the Commissioners Court, the city of Toller, basically all passed resolutions asking the board of directors to do a forensic audit. And the board, after they considered it, they chose to do it, and I put the amount that cost us in it. The AI did not do that part. I put that in there. And I don't think putting out that it cost us $167,000 was sugarcoating anything.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted y'all to know that I did kind of put a new little blurb up at the top to kind of say, hey, Weaver didn't write it. We're not saying that Weaver wrote it. And so hopefully, I don't think it'll clear up anything, but if somebody wants to read it, they can.
For some reason, the mayor copied the board on an open records request this afternoon.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right. And let me talk about that real quick. Mayor had sent an open records request to us.
December 4th.
Okay, December the 4th, thank you. One of the things that he was asking in that was more information, more documents surrounding the audit and surrounding Weaver and maybe even some of our previous auditors. Meg and I worked on that, and we gave him every single document that he asked for except the draft versions of the audit. Now, we contacted our attorney, which we do many times on a public information request, and says, okay, what, if anything, in here is something that's confidential and should be withheld? Our attorneys came back and he said, any drafts of anything they believe can be withheld because it's not the final version. So what we did was we sent notification, our attorneys sent notification to the mayor to say, we're going to seek Attorney General's opinion on this issue of the drafts, whether or not they need to be withheld or whether or not they need to be released. And there was also, no, I think that was all. That was the main thing. So our attorneys sent a letter to the Attorney General saying, we have given this, we gave them most everything we could, okay? Save except the stuff that we thought should be withheld.
This was the second.
Yeah. The Attorney General has, the Attorney General has not responded.
It's close because it's broken. It's a little thing.
Maybe that'll be on the next agenda to get me blind.
New blinds, yeah.
So the Attorney General has not made a decision yet with regards to the draft versions. But the mayor's done several open record requests with us, and there's been times where we've needed to act. As soon as the Attorney General makes a decision, they're going to notify him and us. I mean, it's not like they're going to notify us and not notify him because he's aware that we're waiting on a response from him. But we haven't gotten it back yet. The other thing, one of the things about the Public Information Act request that's very specific is it is for request of documents that currently exist. The law says that I don't have to create a document that doesn't already exist. If someone were to call and ask us and say, hey, I'd like to list all the employees that, hair's black. Well, I don't have that list. And the law says I don't have to go make that list. Now, if we happen to have that in a file somewhere, then I would have to give that up. So a lot of times with the questions that he's asked and things of that nature, the law also says I do not have to answer questions on a Public Information Act request. I only have to provide documents. Now, I may have to manipulate some data if somebody called and said, hey, I want a list of all the properties in compactation. Well, I don't have that document prepared, but it is stored in our computer. So I could write a query to retrieve that data and then give them that information. But because that data exists, it exists in an electronic format. But again, if I get a request for them, like I had a request one time that said, I was at TAB when I got this request. I'd like a list of all the people that have moved here from California. Well, I don't ever keep up with where you moved from. And I don't know. And so therefore we said there's no documents responsive to your request because I don't have to go create them the list of that to answer the question. So, and then even if they ask me, well, can you just tell me? I'm like, well, again, I don't have to answer the question. Right. So that's one of the things that the Public Information Act says that when someone files a Public Information Act with us, we take it very seriously and we follow the law as closely as we possibly can to make sure that we're not in violation. This one right here is actually a document that was sent to the previous auditor we have. And it was sent to all the auditors that we have. And there was also questionnaires that were sent to all the lawyers that we've used. All of these people, Ms. Williams responded directly back to the auditors. We don't have this stuff. We don't have the answers to these questions from her. So again, it's a document. That's a document that doesn't exist. Now, Weaver probably has it. And Weaver's not subject to the Public Information Act request because they're a private company. And so then the question will become, if he asks us to ask them to give us the documents, I'll have to go through our lawyer to find out, because there are certain work files that the auditing firms have that have a level of confidentiality in it. And I don't know the answer to that. We've already sent the mayor's request today to our lawyer to look at and review and see what do you think how we should respond, because everything that he's asked for again, Meg's already given it to me. He already has it, and there's not any new documents that have surfaced that we didn't previously give him. Trust me, I've been doing public information requests for many years, and I know how important it is not to say, let's give him the document.
Yeah.
If we have the document, they get it.
Yeah.
Even if we don't like it.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've had requests for my emails, and I've learned some really good lessons about how to write emails. Don't write emails that you don't want to go out there in the newspaper to see, the news organization to see. Don't write those emails.
Yeah.
Have a phone call. That type of thing.
But while they copy us, we shouldn't be responding to any of those emails.
No, the Public Information Act, no, you shouldn't. I mean, it's just there here's some information, because there's actually something in the law that says if he does not send it to the Public Information Officer, which is me, and I've kind of delegated Meg to be a recipient of that, we don't even have to treat it as a Public Information Act request. It has to have a specific way and process that someone has to. It's easy. We've actually put a link on our website that says, if you want public information, here, fill out this form and send it back to us. It's not hard.
Right.
But they can't send it to you.
Right. I'm not the guy.
Yeah, even if they send it to you and you bring it to me, the AG says, nope, I have not received that.
Right.
It went to you, and you're not that person. So, yeah, right now it's just information. He's basically doing it right now so that y'all will know that he has sent me something.
Right.
And if I don't give him what he wants, y'all will know I haven't given him what he wants. But I'm going to go to my attorney and say, okay, help me figure out, one, what he's asking, what I've already given him, and is there any part of this that we still need to go back to? And we may be just waiting on the attorney general to say, yes, this is something you need to give up, or no, this is something we need to keep in confidential.
And watch you talk out on read. So y'all keep a list of what has already been requested, in theory. And so someone requests document A, and then 6 months later they come back and request document A again. Do you just say this document was provided on January 15th?
We can, or if we have access to it real quick, we just give it to them again.
Okay.
I mean, it's again, we're not trying to make it hard
Right.
or difficult.
But how much time does it take you guys
Yeah.
is a concern that we have to be aware of.
Yeah, most of the time what it is that people will start asking questions and want to know explanations of why this was done, why that was done, and there's no document that explains that. So
Right.
they're really just wanting us to answer a question.
Right.
And that's where we go back and say, under the Public Information Act, we're not required or allowed to answer questions. This is a document request or a data request. So.
Good information.
Yeah, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but because you were saying that all of us were tagged in as far as like the board of directors on that email, we wouldn't even be able to discuss it anyway until we hit open meeting like tonight, just because all of us are tagged in on it.
I would not advise you to call Richard. Well, two of you could.
Two,
Yeah,
Two of you could, and said, hey, did you get this? But
That's not to even go down that road, because that
Well, yeah, no,
one
that's
way
not-
too easy.
Oh, and the reason I mention that is because if all five of us are tagged in on that email at that point, now it's already an open meetings. It's basically already required under open meetings. There's no conversation that can be had with anyone because he's already convened all five individuals on that matter.
So it's just look at it, file it away.
Keep running.
I think my sense is, this keeps costing money, okay? Does this have an endpoint?
That's a great question.
I thought,
I mean, the forensic audit looked really nice. He said there was no problem.
when the two auditors sat right there in those two chairs and gave their report, I thought that was the end point. Like, for example, this.
And answered everybody's questions,
Yeah, and
which they didn't have to do.
that was the amazing thing to me. Mr. Fry decided, because when the public shows up, the public has their time to speak, right? And they speak in that time and they're done. But when these auditors came up, Mr. Fry decided to open the floor. And he decided, were you there?
I guess it was.
Yeah. He decided to open the floor up and say, anybody got any questions of him? And man, I think Dave Eagle was the most shocked because he's like, I can ask you a question.
Yeah,
but-
I think David was about to fall out of his
Yeah,
chair.
go ahead. And so Dave started asking some questions. Mr. Lowry started asking some questions. Mr. Lowry was the one who was just on this home office corporation issue the most.
Right.
And I thought that was the clearest part of the forensic audit that got kind of answered, because I had told the board at that time that I had received advice from the attorney. There was an attorney, let me back up. There was an attorney that advised the board of directors at that time saying, look, if you want to build a building, the way the law is written right now, you can't go out and borrow money. But what some other appraisal districts do is they'll create a shell corporation. The shell corporation can borrow the money, and then you can use that some way, and I'm not even going to pretend to know exactly how the mechanics works, but you can use that as a way to finance the project. So the board said, based upon advice from this attorney, okay, then we need to set this up. So they went in and they have an action item that says, we want to hereby set this up. They signed documents. They gave the documents back to Chief Appraiser. Chief Appraiser never turned those documents back over to the attorney that needed to be filed with the Secretary of State. So fast forward many months later, that Chief Appraiser resigned. I get hired, I come in, and the board says, hey, we need to talk about dissolving this home office corporation that we created. He said, okay. So I called the attorney. I said, hey, the board wants to dissolve the corporation. And he's like, kind of, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, and finally I had to catch him up to speed. I'm the new chief appraiser, the old chief appraiser left, blah, blah, blah. And he came in and says, oh, yeah, I remember that. Hang on. He goes, that never was set up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I got board minutes. I got everything saying it's set up. Got signed documents and everything. He goes, we never got the paperwork back. And so we never filed with the Secretary of State. And since it's not filed with the Secretary of State, it's not set up. It doesn't exist. Well, I come back to at the time Eddie Rodriguez and said, there's nothing to dissolve. So I put my thinking cap on and decided, you know what we can do is I can bring an action item to the board to say, we want to repeal all the decisions that were made on March the 4th, whatever the date was that they set it up. And so that's what the board did. The board came back, made a motion, says we're repealing all the decisions that were made on March the 4th, whatever the date was, regarding the home office corporation. And it passed unanimously. So it was like there wasn't anything to dissolve because it didn't exist. And then I got the board to just say, okay, then we're going to undo and take back all the decisions that were made. Well, this was in the audit. This was in the forensic audit. And so there were questions about, how was it set up? And it's like, well, it wasn't set up, and this question. And then I asked the question. I asked the auditors, I said, well, answer one more question for me. Did you ever find any money that went from the appraisal district into the home office corporation? And they came back and said, no money ever went into the home office corporation because there was, yeah, and we never set up a bank account for them because we didn't have a corporation. Well, we didn't even try. I don't even think that y'all were directed to go set up a bank account or open up a bank account, but we wouldn't have been able to do that because we didn't have what, EIN and identification number.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that. So I'm still kind of confused why that seems to be still the talk of the town, because it's like,
Well, it is an issue in the current election.
yeah, oh, yes. Yes. Yes, it is. I think there's a lot about us that's an issue at the current election.
So maybe it'll die down after
Maybe,
March 3rd, I hope.
yeah.
Oh, I don't think the mayor's gonna let go.
Oh, no, sir, I don't think so either.
He wants that alleged 1.3 million refunded that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. You asked the
We
question.
could suggest to mayor that we could add it in our budget to collect the 1.3 million from the execute fees and give them 1.3 million.
You know what, Richard, I've already told him that. Because I've said, I don't know how to give you back money that I don't have unless I ask you for the money and I turn around and I give it back. Well, back to your question, the end of it, I honestly believe that the mayor's looking for something to possibly have an errors and omissions claim with our insurance.
That's what I understood.
Yes. I'm not telling you anything that's not public news. It's out there. He's mentioned that at the commissioner's court. But I think that's the end goal, is that there would be some way, and I don't really know yet how that will come about, because it's not the mayor's insurance company, it's our insurance company.
Okay, so that's an interesting point. I didn't realize.
Well, it would be almost like me coming to you and saying, hey, I think you need to file a claim on your insurance because I walked across your property the other day and I didn't feel good. Now, that's a very bad analogy, so to speak.
Stranger.
But I can't make you file an insurance claim on your insurance. I could sue you and maybe make you file an insurance claim on your insurance, but I would have to have some kind of claim. So I don't know.
The only thing that the audit said was wrong was $25.
Yeah. And I think that, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an insurance adjuster or anything like that, but I think the insurance company, first thing they want to see is that forensic audit. And when they see that forensic audit, I think they're going to go through there and say, where's the error? Where's the omission? And I think they're going to struggle to find something that's worth popping up anywhere from $400,000 to $1.3 million. But I don't know. But as we go down this path, I will be bringing you guys, I'll be bringing you more information, more knowledge, and most likely we'll be bringing in our lawyers to advise us on how we navigate this.
That's why the executive session is going to be on every meeting.
Yeah, it may be
It
that meeting that, hey, something's come up, we need to go talk, and we can do that in the executive session.
Yeah, because say something happens in Commissioner's Court with DA says something, or maybe an attorney has to just use your guidance for you here. So,
And I hope that answers your question.
It does. I just didn't realize the insurance was not from the mayor. It's from.
Yeah, we actually get our insurance from Texas
Yeah.
Municipal League, the TMLs who we have our errors and
Now.
omissions insurance with.
We pay it from money they give us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have our own.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think is an important distinction you need to always understand, is that the appraisal district is a political subdivision of the state. We're not part of the county, the school, the city, or any taxing entity. It's kind of like we're not a state organization, but we are considered a political subdivision of the state. But I get asked all the time, well, who's your boss? Who do you answer to? I said, well, I answer to the board of directors. Well, who do they answer to? Really nobody. I mean, you're obviously appointed by the taxing units, but you don't turn around and go do their bidding. You're not part of them. You're part of us. It's kind of a complicated thing, but the one that we might be mostly regulated by would probably be the state comptroller, because they do the property-based study, they do the maps review, and if it got really, really bad, how some of these school districts are getting taken over by the state. If we got taken over, we get taken over by the state comptroller. So, but we don't But if you call the state comptroller and say, you need to go there, they're gonna be like, hey, we don't control them. Because they're not under our purview. We're just kind of an entity to ourselves. But we do have people we have to kind of report to, but mostly that's you.
Yeah.
Mostly that's you. And I do my best to keep us all straight. Keep us all straight and keep us all out of jail.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you did a great job all of last year working through these issues. As we
Well,
were
I've-
learning them.
I hate to say it, but I've seen a lot of issues.
Yeah.
In my time. So, yeah. I've paid lots of attorneys too.
Yeah. They're definitely gonna make their money.
I wish I knew how much money I've paid out to attorneys over my career, 28-year career.
Ooh. It would be a dangerous question. Is that everything?
That's it.
So then our next action item is looking at our calendar for our next meeting, which at the moment is scheduled to be March 19th. My only dilemma is that's the week of spring break.
You want to move it back or up? Or I would say if you could move it maybe to the following week.
Okay, the 26th.
Yeah.
Go with either day.
Be all good with the 26th? My only hesitation is I don't know if I'm traveling out of town to see my boys who are on spring break the same week as well.
March 26th.
Well, James is checking his calendar, so I'm just making sure he's good. You good?
Double checking right now. It's making me re-log back in.
I understand. Okay. You were typing, so I didn't know if you were putting it in or checking. Okay.
Yeah.
And generally, we're on the third Thursday.
Typically.
One calendar, I have it the second Thursday, the other calendar is the third Thursday. So I'm going to get them aligned when I get home tonight.
I'll be here either day.
You're not going anywhere.
I'll be here either day.
All right. It looks like right now I'm scheduled for work on the 26th, but if the 26th works for y'all, I can probably see if I can get it covered.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I can probably make that work.
Okay. Well, let's adjust that for the 26th then. And the motion to adjourn.
There's arguments that say you don't. You can just say meeting adjourned. There's other people that like to make motions. We've always done a motion and a second to adjourn. Haven't
Mostly.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
we? Yeah.
All right. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Just checking. All right, then we are adjourned at 6:03. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen.
Signature.
Yes, sir.
You turn that off.
Peace out.
Oh, hang on. Keep our stand on.